All right, welcome to the next in the series of Bitesize Live with Pete and Harps. And we're here today to talk to you about something that comes up quite a lot in conversations with customers and partners, and that's the evolution of attacks and what's changing. Now, this Bitesize is going to be slightly different to the previous ones, where we've kind of gone through how Rubrik addresses things with the 4 blocks that we send out afterwards. The whole point of today's session is around educating you guys, our partners, on what's changing in the environment out there and in the industry, and why there's a need for that education. So if we start with why there's a need for it, we want to make sure that customers are hearing this information. And if they're not hearing it from you, they'll be hearing it from yours or our competitors, and we want to get on the front foot. So Harps and I were talking, and we thought this topic of conversation would be really valuable for everybody. So Harps, what's happening with the evolution of attacks? Take us through it.
Lots is the answer. Right, so I normally talk about 5 things about the evolution of attacks. So the first thing is when I joined Rubrik about 18 months ago, I spent probably the first few months talking about attackers being in your environment for many months, 6, 12, 18 months. And the question was always, if a bad actor was in your environment at the moment, would you know about it? Do you have a mechanism of actually searching and looking for any anomalous behavior? Now, what we know, a good case in point there is the Northern Ireland police attack, where the bad actor was in there for around 14 months, very, very patient. And then they managed to get a hold of, the names and addresses of all the police officers. Now that's the first level. That's what I call like an old school attack now, because now we're talking around days. We're not talking months, we're talking days, because the median dwell time, which is basically an attacker breaking in, moving laterally and getting into a position of comfort where they've probably got a hold of some kind of data, is actually 9 days internationally now. So, we're not talking months anymore, we're talking days. And they're evolving, all the time. So they know that customers are spending a lot of money on getting solutions in place to look for things like file encryption. And that's pretty much what's been happening around for a while now. So they've changed tack, and they're basically now looking at encrypting the virtual machines instead of the files. So I tend to use like the Russian doll analogy. If you treat the smallest doll as the file set, they're now moving up one level to the bigger doll, which is the VMs, and basically utilizing the ESX host to get access to that. So VM encryption is, I think, over 60% of the attacks now. So that's another change. The fourth thing is around Gen AI. Obviously, there's a lot of topic of conversation around Gen AI, and they're using it. They're using things like ChatGPT and things like that to write malicious code to be able to attack customers and write, evolutions of the same code so that they can batter a customer with multiple iterations of code to try and get in. There's a whole host of things around Gen AI that we'll probably discuss in a separate Bite-Size Live. But yeah, we need to be utilizing Gen AI now to combat those threats or to speed up remediation. And then the last thing, which is probably the worst thing, is the threat of data exfiltration or stealing of data, whereby the bad actors are getting in. They're not hacking or breaking in. They're basically logging in, utilizing some credentials that they've stolen. They log in and they try and exfiltrate or steal data. And as we know, there's no recovery from that, because as soon as that data's gone, that data's gone. There's no undoing of that. So those are, there's a lot, 5 big things that are happening in the industry, but the evolution of attacks is constantly changing. So, Pete, with these changes in tactics, what does that mean for customers?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So effectively, I talk about this a lot when I talk to partners around risk. Why does anybody buy anything? Make money, save money, or reduce risk. And risk is a really interesting one, because you can quantify risk. And the way that you do that is you take the likelihood of something happening and multiply it by the impact. So these changes in tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, increase the likelihood of the bad guys getting in and doing damage, causing downtime, stealing data, etc., etc. So we know that the likelihood is increasing, which is increasing the risk of this happening. But organizations are aware of this stuff. They know what the cost of downtime is. They've had business continuity and disaster recovery plans in place for, since day 0. So it's all about trying to help them understand, okay, well, what's the impact of it happening? It's more than just the downtime. And it's where we start getting into the data regulations and the fines that come with it. We've had GDPR now since 2016, and it came into force in 2018. So we've had it for like nearly 6 years. And that's a really good, G in GDPR stands for general, right? It's a really good baseline of kind of like, this is why you should do it, and here's the impact of not doing it, right? 4% of global revenue. But it's not enough. So various different government agencies and regulators and people like that have come out with a bunch of additional data regulations that kind of layer on top of GDPR. It's like GDPR on steroids. So it's things like DORA, PRA, EHDS, NIS2, and there'll be more. And these are all requirements that customers have to address within a certain time frame and be able to prove that they can get back up and running. And the fines are much greater than the 4% of global revenue. You know, we're talking 5-6% of global revenue. We're talking 20 million euro personal fines for individuals that are involved in the data breach, and potentially mandatory prison sentences if you get it all wrong. So when you look at like the fact that things are changing, which means that the likelihood of someone getting in has got bigger, and the fact that the impact is getting worse, and there is there are deadlines about when people need to be DORA compliant and PRA compliant and all these other regulations. Like, this is an opportunity to go and educate customers that today is the day to take a call to discuss this high level. Now, of course, go through the rest of the Rubrik bite size and you'll learn how Rubrik can help, but it's worth having the conversation anyway, rather than taking a renewal of whatever technology is already in place and just, going for the easy money. So hopefully that's been really helpful. Appreciate you, Harps, giving a summary there. What we'll do is we'll send out a summary slide with those 5 key points on there that customers need to address, so you can use that as a reference. And yeah, go and start those conversations with customers. And if you want to learn more, come and speak to me, Harps, or anybody else at Rubrik. We'll help you out.
Thank you.
All right, see you all soon. See you on the next one.
All right.
Bye-bye.